Hello students and Assalamu alaikum. I hope you all are doing good. As you can see in our process of remote learning and online teaching, our first lecture today is the process of news writing. So let's get started. And before I begin, I wanted to tell you that there are two faculty members in the department who are actually teaching this course, myself and Mr. Saqib Salim. So we are collaborating on these lectures. So before I begin, I actually wanted to give you a caveat. News writing is one of the forms of writing. By now, I'm sure you must be familiar with different forms of writing. There is literary writing, there is creative writing, there is academic writing, and there is copywriting as well. Well, some of you might be a little confused about the word copywriting. As you can see, it is mentioned in the second bullet on the screen. So let me explain it very briefly. Copywriting actually is a process wherein a person writes for a publicity material, or let's say a person writes content for the advertisement. I think I can explain it better with the help of an example. So just think about the slogan of Dalda cooking oil. You might have heard it is Jahan Dalda, Wahan Mamta. Similarly, let's consider another example. Again, you might have seen this slogan, Dunya ko bata do, on different hoardings and billboards of Jazz Cellular Service. So the persons who actually write this sort of content are called copywriters. To repeat, copywriters are the persons who write content for publicity and advertisements. Now, journalistic writing, as we are discussing different forms of writing, is one of different pieces of writing. And we'll see how journalistic writing is different from other pieces of writing or other forms of writing. So as you can see on the screen, essentially, journalistic writing is different from other forms of writings in two ways. The first difference is the inverted pyramid style, and the second is called the intro or lead paragraph, wherein we will discuss 5 W's and 1 H, and we'll talk about them shortly. So these are two main differences, I can say. That is how journalistic writing or news writing is different from other pieces of writing, especially academic writing. All right, so here we'll talk about what is an inverted pyramid style. So just pay attention to the picture here. I have actually taken this picture from the notes that I'll be sharing with you on Moodle, and you will find the similar picture on those notes for your preparation. So the inverted pyramid style actually is a journalistic writing style wherein the most important information is given at the top. So you all know what is the literal meaning of the word inverted. Its meaning is something upside down. And similarly, pyramid, you see like the shape of pyramid in front of you in the picture. So inverted pyramid style essentially is a style, like I said, where the most important information goes at the top, which is followed by next most important information, then next most important, then next most important, then less important, and then at the very end, least important information. Now, let me tell you what is the purpose of that. Well, the purpose is so that you give your readers the most important information right off the bat in the very beginning. So many times it happens that people do not tend to read the whole news story. They only read the first paragraph, or sometimes first few sentences, or just the headline. So just by a cursory look at the headline or at the very first paragraph, the purpose is that your reader actually gets to know the information, all the important information that he or she needs to know. And if they skip the rest, they want to skip the rest of the information, that actually makes little or no difference. And similarly, in different newspapers pages, you might have noticed that the front page they don't tend to give the whole news story. You might have seen continuations of the news stories, so the same news story is continued on other pages. Again, here the purpose is to provide the most important information to the readers right off the bat. All right, let's talk about the next difference, which is intro or lead. Although we have talked about it already, to repeat, I would like you to know that intro, the very first paragraph of a news story, is called intro or the lead paragraph. And that is usually the paragraph that has the answer of 5 W's and 1 H. I think here I should give you this caveat that these terminologies and these styles are universal. However, you can find some variation in styles depending on the newspaper, sometimes depending on the culture, and sometimes depending on the country as well. So 5Ws here indicate, well, what has happened, where has the incident happened, when did it happen, similarly why it happened, sometimes if applicable who is involved or who is after this, and then how that particular thing happened. So let's recall the example of COVID-19 outbreak when it started about 2 or 3 months ago in Wuhan, a city of China. If you remember, if you were following news during those days, you might have noticed that with the news of coronavirus outbreak, there was this like the very first paragraphs of the majority of news stories were actually covering all the contents of the news story. So consider what has happened. For example, the outbreak of a viral disease where in a city of China, when in late November or early December. Why? Well, at that time, um, there was no known source, but you might have read or heard the stories that the virus actually came from the eating of exotic or wild animals. And who is involved? Of course, it was affecting the people of inhabitants of Wuhan, a city in China. And how has happened? I mean, if journalists know some explanation, they can go and provide little bit details. All right. Now I would like to give you a caveat that in this lecture, we are only and exclusively talking about news writing. And you all know that there are other forms of writing also involved in media. There are columns, there are opinions, there are commentaries, editorials, features, and even review articles, and many other forms of writings that can appear, and even analysis, different sorts of analysis, different sorts of writers, different sorts of articles you can see, and even you can see in broadcast media as well. For this lecture, we are only talking about news writing. So the inverted pyramid style and the style of 5Ws and 1H is exclusively related to news writing. It is not applicable or applied to other forms of journalistic writing. Now you will see the next part of this lecture in the next video. Thank you.